Hello and welcome to this video. My name's Kieran Hines, I'm the Head of Financial Services Research at Ovum, and I'm joined today by Neil Harris from Bottom Line Technologies. What we're going to talk about today is looking forward to 2016 in the UK payment market, particularly looking at how some of the forces driving change in the industry are going to create opportunities for new products and service development. So Neil, thank you for joining me.
Hi.
So first question really, just want to get your thoughts on what the main factors will be that will drive change in the industry this year.
So I see three fundamental elements which are going to affect change within the coming year. So the first element is around compliance and regulation. The regulation is continuing to be within the top three challenges of most financial institutions. That's not going to change with the likes of other regulatory initiatives coming into play this and following years. The second element is around customer expectation and being able to serve those expectations today and being agile as a financial institution to be able to respond to those requirements. And thirdly, it's all around the technology. Now this is slightly new in that technology players are becoming much more engaged within the financial space. We're seeing not only technology providers such as Bottom Line providing technology to the financial community, but actually being players within that financial community and developing their own financial products that they're going out to market with.
Of course, completely agree with the points about regulation in particular, and as we've seen in the UK over the last few years, at a macro level at least, there's a big push and a focus on opening up the market to new competition, and in particular enabling challenger banks and such like to compete with incumbent providers. So what role do you see the challenger banks having in the industry this year in terms of driving change?
Yeah, one of the key challenges, and that's actually, again, this now featured in a recent survey with all the existing financial institutions on a global level, it features as within their top three challenge, was actually how do we engage with this client base given their expectations? How are we, with all of the legacy applications and infrastructure, how are we going to respond to the agility that actually our client base is demanding? And that's a massive challenge to the community, the existing financial community. So effectively, what consumers, from an expectation perspective, is that this is broadband in their pocket, so they've got access to these facilities throughout their whole life and working life. So it's not just consumers are business consumers as well as individuals, of course. So they've got access to mobile device and technologies now, which are enabling them to get access to data and information now. And actually, banking and financial information is no different. In fact, it's probably more important. There's more pressure to know your specific account balance and where's my financial standing, where's my cash. So there were massive expectations building. Again, one of the challenges around from the legacy banks is really accommodating those expectations. Which the challengers and the other fintech providers don't necessarily have a specific issue with, and that's where organisations such as Bottom Line, we can help those existing organisations to leverage their existing assets and add on other value-added services in a seamless and transparent way. Last year, obviously, we saw the likes of new bankings coming onto the market with new banking licenses being issued, with the likes of Atom and Tandem Bank in Q4. That trend is going to continue. The challenges will continue to evolve and to come up. May well be a teaming up of challenger banks and existing FIs that we could envisage that over the coming term. One of the kind of fundamental elements that we've been working recently is the challengers to the challengers. So existing card programs, card providers who've got existing client bases, existing platforms, extending their reach and their products to their client base to include more of a banking light type functionality.
And the point about card programs is a particularly interesting one. So what are the barriers or the challenges that have prevented some of these players being more active in the market to date?
A couple of things. First of all was really the appetite from the client base itself. Organisations, card providers, they're trusted organisations, but from a regulatory perspective, there were developments in play over the last couple of years that have really evolved the requirements of those organisations to such that actually now they are mini banks in themselves. They go through the same KYC, the same processes. And the average Joe doesn't recognise this, and certainly the millennials, all the studies recently have indicated that actually the millennials don't care about banks. The name, the brand of an existing bank, yes, the funds are and money is still very important to all of us, but actually is a brand like O2 or Vodafone more powerful, or Facebook more powerful to an individual than an established financial institution? So that's that kind of new wave of thinking, that cultural change that we've gone through, again going back to the kind of the millennials and also the technology that's kind of created that new wave or enabled that wave is really fundamental to why the card providers are now in a position, a really prime position to challenge the challengers.
So think about the new payment rails in particular, and what functions will that enable a card program or a program manager to deliver to their customers?
Yeah, so the existing scenario is effectively restricted to the kind of card rails network. So loading of funds onto the card balance through the card scheme, and obviously going to a merchant and paying your local Sainsbury's for whatever produce you're buying. But if I need to give you that cash, if I owe you money, how do I transfer those funds to you real time? Apart from going to an ATM and pulling out the funds and giving it to in person. So again, that's one of the part of the party that the bottom line brings is actually allowing those or adding those additional funding rails, which enable me as a card holder to transfer you those funds over normal banking-like functionalities.
And of course, we can't talk about regulation without mentioning interchange, and the change at the back end of last year will have a huge impact on profitability in the industry. So what are the things which you think card programs in particular should look to do to respond to that?
Yeah, so the interchange change at the tail end of last year, in December of last year, mega change to how programs make money. So profitability remains the kind of the primary focus of most financial institutions, as well as the card programs themselves, obviously. With the changes to interchange, they've already made those changes accordingly. However, there are more changes coming in down the line with there's new regulation expected this year with MIF Article 10, which again is going to affect the usage of cards and how consumers use the card. So it will actually drive behaviour, which ultimately will affect spend and revenue streams. So organisations, in terms of opportunity, they do need to assess how they create revenue today. Question is, everyone talks about it, is it the end of free banking? It's a very relevant and poignant question, quite a hot topic, one that it keeps coming up. But with the regulatory change and the agility that both the regulation and the consumers demand, actually, my firm belief is it is the end of free banking. There will become a way of charging for that banking service. However, the key point isn't, are we going to charge? We've got to. The key point is, how do we justify the charge? So it's all about added value and added services. So making stuff easy, frictionless. How do I get the funds onto the card easily? How do I get the funds off the card easily and frictionless is really primary to and central to that whole debate.
So clearly some fascinating changes to watch in the year ahead. Neil, it's been great. Thank you very much.